Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. I've been giving this some thought. The manner in which I drew this meant that I wound up having a slightly different approach, or the sizes upon which I created this dome meant that I wound up with a slightly different dimensions, and therefore had to scale, which wasn't too difficult, the model to match the previous models, the ones in the previous videos. So I thought, is there a way I can draw this model from the get-go in a similar manner, such that, like the other two methods, I can use one base model to then step on to do the next version. So what we've got here is that base is 1 meter by 1 meter, but when I draw the arch or arc in this size, I had to draw it as the with the dimension of this diagonal, and then rotate it, thinking that was the correct method to do it. I'm going to go backwards, and to go backwards means I'll get rid of the guides. I create my 1 meter by 1 meter rectangle again, square again, 1 meter by 1 meter, and save that. And I'm going to draw the arc with the 4 sides in the red axis from that 1 meter point. So it's saying 1 meter there, and I come up, and there we have that. I create that as a surface, make group, rotate it around, all looking very familiar with our previous models or methods. I can drop lines down vertically on these points, and this would be where I would normally, after I've created the porcupine, the line array, draw the planes for intersection at this point. In this method, however, I can create arcs off of these lines to generate our dome structure and our flush in plane sides. Now I'm hesitating because I'm thinking as I'm going on that this won't generate the size of dome that I require. Puzzle. But it seems to follow that will produce a dome of this in this scenario. So let's give it a crack, shall we? This one here will create a point of intersection that is going to be how we generate our hexagon in this point here. If I go here to here and back up there and back there, this will be our top triangle. But if I go from that point there to that intersection point, that's our next triangle down, this one here. Or is it? I think it is. I can get rid of these arcs, and now this point straight away allows us to draw the triangle on this point. You can start to see how I said that this method is perhaps easier than the other two methods. So how do we get the next point? Well, we draw the arc from here down to the surface, and from here, oops, I'll do that again, from here, once my computer catches up, down to the surface. Wow, there's a big long pause there for certain. It had me thinking. I actually went ahead and created the dome. I didn't want to waste my time or yours any more than I already have. But the creation of this dome is easier, but you just have to be comfortable with the method by using these arcs. And this certainly does create the point, the height of this line here without having to put a line up. Just the intersection of the two arcs generated off of this line here certainly does create this point that we need here. And if I just zoom in, intersection point, it's just not quite lining up. You have to get the point right, otherwise there's no point. It's not generating a proper intersection point, so that, yes, look at that. You can, in 3D it looks correct. Now what's created that issue? I think it's the extent that the arcs have been drawn, and it changes where the points of division on the arc are created. So let's actually back out of this, and I'm going to do it slightly different again. I'm going to create the arc from here, and I'll take it all the way down to the surface. I'll create the arc here, and take it all the way down to the surface. And now, in theory, we should have an intersection point. Now see here, it's sticking, which is good. I'll draw another line from that point to that point, and that point back to here, and we get the surface. Oops. That was interesting. I've not struck that before. The amount of the arc that has been drawn will determine more or less where the divisions are, the segments are, and therefore if you don't have a similar arc on both sides, you get that discrepancy. Interesting. Delete these. These are the arcs, which I shouldn't need now. So we've got our two surfaces. We now need to create the arc on this point, and again I go all the way down to the surface, or the base as it is, to do that. And the line at which the leg and the upper part of the dome requires some consideration. In fact, I shouldn't have deleted the other lines, the other arcs. Let's go back. I'm actually getting quite keen about this now. The arc from here down to the base, and the arc, the opposite one, from here down to the base, do create this point of intersection that gives us that top surface. But when we go to do the arc here, again to the base, that gives us another point of intersection, which really is, I think, quite an elegant way of doing things. It gives us our point there. So if I go from there to there, and I'll zoom in for this, to there and back down, or where are we, to there. Ooh, there's lots of lines there, isn't it? Double click only, make group. Very interesting. Gives us a lot of our points just by using those arcs. Jeez, it's even easier than it was before. I'm not going to do the base yet. I'll do the other. I'll tell you what, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to create a line and group it on the base. Now, in theory, I can get rid of those arcs, because they're a little bit confusing. Get the remnants there. And now, in theory, I can create the rest of my dome. From that point to that point, back up. From that point to that point, and back up. Out to there, and back up. From there, and back up here. I've got the dome there. I haven't done the base yet. Why? Well, first of all, I'll save these. Make group. It's already a group, David. Make a group. I think that one's a group and that's a group. Because I'm going to lift the base up to halfway on this line. And now draw my leg. And group them all together. Move it out, say 3 meters. Big sigh. The method is, now that I'm getting comfortable with it, way easier than the other two versions. Remove the parallel projection, and yes indeed, we've got the nice gridded plan view. We put perspective back on. We have the reasonably balanced, be it squished hexagon. We've got the nice arcing lines through the opening. All in all, I think that's a jolly good drawing method. And that only came about by me thinking I'd had the method, went to make this video and realised it is actually easier than even my first method. Well, that's interesting in itself. Okey-doke. Well, it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. There's a big pause, and why I went blank in a few of the bit of my explanations. But I think that it was, for me at least, a step forward. And when I go to do the very much more condensed recordings, you will benefit from it. Okay, I'm going to bed. See you again in the next video. Bye.